Welcome to the Leaderonomics show, and today we have Brian Wong with us. Now, Brian's only 19, already started up 2 companies, and worked for a little while with Digg. Brian, welcome to the show. You're from Vancouver, right?
I am from Vancouver originally, but I moved down to San Francisco to work at Digg, and now I'm starting my new company there as well.
You were with Digg for a year or so?
Yeah.
And what were you doing at Digg?
I was in business development.
And so what did you do there?
Well, business development is kind of the fluffy term. They kind of bucket a bunch of responsibilities. And in my case, it was a combo of media relationships with our media partners, like the Wall Street Journal and the Forbes of the world. And then on top of that, also working on tech partnerships. So out of that was born the Android app for Digg, which was basically my project. And I was very, very excited to be able to be a part of that.
Now, it's interesting, you're 19 now. You worked for Digg for a year. You started your company right after college. How do you do all this? I mean, and you graduated at 18, right? How did you manage to do so much?
I mean, a lot of people sort of go, "Oh, well, what happened to your childhood? Like, you went crazy." And like, I mean, for me, like,
what happened to your childhood? I mean,
well, it went out the door. I'm kidding. I mean, like, the thing is, I wouldn't have it any other way. I really love what I'm doing right now, and when I went through university, I did the full 4 years because I wanted to have the full, college.
So you went to university when you were 14, right?
Yes. We'll talk about how I coped a little bit later on. But in terms of just the things I did earlier and in high school and in elementary, the way that I sort of just felt is I constantly wanted to challenge myself, hit my limits and to see what my limits were in the first place. And that was just to see how fast I could go. And so that's basically what happened, was the reaction to how fast I really could go. And I mean, right now though, I think what I do advocate a lot with the speaking that I do in youth entrepreneurship is that it's about the journey, not the destination. So that's been a huge part.
So your journey's been relatively short.
It's been short, but at the same time, I take as much opportunity as I can to smell the roses, and I think that's the beauty of being an entrepreneur, especially when you're younger. Is when you're taking those giant leaps and bounds. You want to be able to take people along with you on that journey and to have them smell the roses as well.
So how did you cope? I mean, in terms of rushing through
so
school?
I publicly said this, and I'm gonna say it again. Like, I think it's very unfortunate that there's a lot of events. Like, I wouldn't actually be here if I didn't have an ID. You know what I mean? So when I was in university, I was 14, there are a lot of events and places that you meet really cool people that are only for, 19 plus or 21 plus or 18 plus, whatever the legal drinking age is in the country. But, I was able to cope. I was very lucky.
So that's on drinking.
Yeah, for the drinking part. But I mean, the thing is, not about the drinking. It was just about the ability to meet people that were, in that age group that you were supposed to be or not supposed to be or have happened to be a part of because of the situation that you're in.
So that was not a struggle for you?
No, it wasn't. I mean, for me, I got really lucky. My brother just so happens to be exactly 4 years older than me. I mean, that helped on the ID side, but as well, I mean, the thing is, I was able to hang out with him a lot, and I think a lot of the reasons why the quintessential sort of child prodigy, there's a preconception of how they're introverted and a little socially awkward.
And you're completely opposite of that.
Maybe I am socially awkward. I just don't know. Maybe I'm not oblivious to it. But the thing is, like, I just got really lucky because I was able to spend a lot of time with people and just to learn. This is how not to be awkward. And so, just after many years, being in college and having to adapt, it's been a fun challenge, I would say.
Now, right after college, you started a business. Why start a business instead of working for somebody?
So I graduated in 09. And so obviously that was sort of right when the financial crisis was sort of, brewing about. And so, obviously jobs were not as plentiful. And for me, I was also going through that stage that everybody goes through once they graduate, with sort of like, what do I do? Like, I have no idea. This is weird. There's so many opportunities. So for me, it was just like, why don't I just create my own ideal job? And at that point, I was just like, well, there's this great, new thing called Twitter. Oprah just joined Twitter. There happens to be a lot of moms that will most likely flood Twitter after this and go, what is this Twitter thing? Like, who do I follow? So the company that I created was called Followformation. And what that did was it was actually an automated user discovery tool on Twitter. And that actually helped people who were unfamiliar with Twitter to pre-populate the people that they were following on Twitter. So for me, it was just like, it was a sort of a natural progression to sort of, I'm just gonna try something. And it happened to stick, and we got really lucky because of that.
Right. So the company is still around, right?
It is. I mean, it's still up. We got an iPhone app. We have the app on the web. I mean, it doesn't require a lot of maintenance at all. So people are still using it very actively right now.
And you still dabble a little bit it in the
Yeah, I mean,
organization?
we're putting a few more. I mean, the OAuth collapse is happening, right? So we have to move to OAuth because we decided to use username and password in the beginning, but little stuff like that. But right now, my main focus is my new startup, which is the mobile advertising startup.
So before that, you went into Digg for a bit, right?
Yes.
So why go into Digg? I mean, when you had a successful,
Yeah, I mean, so success is relative, and for me, I realized that in Vancouver, where I originally was from, there were just a handful of people in the tech space or the social media space that truly understood the ramifications and sort of implications of what we were doing. Right. And I realized that going down to San Francisco and going to an area where people just their thinking processes are just that much bigger, and I realized that being geographically limited also limited my mind, and so moving down to San Francisco was I would say something that I really wanted to do to be able to expand, and I realized the opportunity with Digg came up along with a few others, and I was like, what, it'd be a great experience to be part of something.
So it's really a learning experience.
It was a learning experience, and on top of that, being able to spend some time to be on your own, and then to network with people and to learn really how the space works. I mean,
and also be in Silicon Valley.
Exactly. I would say it was sort of that conduit. I mean, Digg provided a lot more than that. I learned a lot more. But, on top of that, it's just, sometimes when you go to a new area, you need to be helped. And with Digg, especially with a very widely recognized brand, especially in the Valley, it was extremely helpful.
How many years? A year plus at Digg?
Well, actually, it was a little bit less than a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why leave Digg?
So, I mean, people like to sort of have a fun time making fun of how, if you're a year or 2 years at a startup, it's kind of like 20 years in dog years,
So you had 20 dog years?
No, I mean, it wasn't like a long time, and it didn't really feel like a long time. In fact, it felt like a very short time, and I had a lot of fun there. But ultimately, there were greater opportunities that I would have punched myself if I didn't pursue.
And that's why you set up this whole new organization?
This is why there's a new company that I'm starting right now. And
tell us a bit about your new company.
Absolutely. So it's called Kipp, K-I-I-P. Yep. It's a mobile advertising platform. Now, I mean, everybody's probably like, yeah. I mean, there's so many mobile advertising platforms happening right now. So ours is a sort of a twist on the traditional conception of advertising, that instead of delivering ads, it delivers free stuff. So that's pretty much where I would stop describing it, though, because we're kind of in a mode where
it's still not launched yet?
No, we're not fully launched yet, but that's sort of what the spin that we're working on right now.
Okay, so we'll be looking out for Kipp.
You will be able to see Kipp in a lot of the games that you'll be playing on your iPhone right now.
All right, so we'll be looking out for that.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit in terms of if other people want to follow you and follow your path in terms of accelerating their learning and growth. What advice would you give them?
Well, first of all, I'd say don't follow my path, because I personally
because you lose your childhood.
Yeah. Well, personally, I would say with any path that's been predefined or been treaded along by anybody, you have to realize that unless you diverge and do your own thing or find something that's unique or a path that's been less treaded, you can achieve true success there. I mean, there's someone who said that you can't expect abnormal returns by doing things that are normal. And so you have to do something abnormal. And I think with people who are looking to accelerate, I mean, really look into yourself. Do you really think that this is going to be something that will be helpful to the way that you think and the way that you move? For me, I have to constantly challenge myself. Like, I feel uncomfortable if I'm not making the most out of my time. And some people say that's very sad, but some people say that's really exciting. And for me, I mean, I don't mind. It's my personal life. And for me, I have to consistently challenge myself. For those of you who do want to accelerate, there are great, pockets of legacy programs in most education systems that allow people who want to accelerate to have that opportunity to. For me in Canada, I mean, there wasn't like an official program that was like skip 4 grades and go to university early. It was more like you need to take a lot of IQ tests just so we think you're capable of doing this in the first place. And if you happen to hit that mark, go ahead, you can do whatever you want, kind of thing. And I think that's also one of the things that people should look out for, is be aware of all the programs that are available. If you truly do want to do something like that, go for it, because you, at the end of the day, you are the most powerful force in your life, right? You decide that if you want to skip, you skip. Don't wait for someone to come to you and say, I think you're really smart, pick, and move you out there, right? I mean, Malcolm Gladwell in his book Outliers, he really outlined that, and that is, there's no such thing as an overnight success. It's really the people around you that bring you along and help you and find opportunities to help you. And you need to know how to ask for help as well. So.
Okay. So final question. What happens next for 19-year-old Brian? I mean, you seem to be a guy that's accelerating, in terms, not just your learning, I think in terms of your progression and career. So what do you look forward to next after Kipp, and for the rest of your life?
You know what, I mean, right now I'm focusing on Kipp and making sure that, it can be the biggest, most baddest thing that I've ever created. But at the end of the day, I'm just very excited about what's going to happen in the near future. A lot of people are excited for me as well. What's next for me is I constantly have my ear to the ground for all the new things that are happening out there. It's my insatiable thirst for new technologies and fringe type of marketing or social media techniques that I like to look at. And for me, it really is finding problems that I think are huge and trying to solve those. And for me, I was looking at the mobile advertising space and I was going, hang on a second, like, is it really as effective as everybody thinks that it is? I mean, it seems like a lot of acquisitions and movement is happening in that space, but I think there's a fundamental lacking of a true mobile platform that can reach people directly when they're the most engaged. And so that is a problem that I'm trying to tackle. The next problem that I'm trying to tackle, I have yet to know, but I'm very excited to know what it will be.
All right, Brian, thank you so much for being on the show.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so
Wong
much, Roshan.
On the Leaderonomics show.